Okay. And okay, we're on our last video lesson of the week, actually, because tomorrow you don't have a video lesson. We're going to carry on looking at comparing and ordering fractions, although we're going to start looking at it a little bit more in a problem kind of context. Hopefully you're feeling fairly confident on this already. So, the amount of water in each bottle is different. Which bottle has the least? You hopefully can read these bottle labels, but if not, I put it down here. It's 1 3/10 of a litre, 1 2/5 of a litre, 2 1/5 of a litre. So you might want to pause the video now. Which bottle has the least water? Excellent. So we know that straight away 2 1/5 of a litre is going to be more than 1 2/5 because 2/5 is not a whole. So this is not more than 2 litres yet. 3/10 is not more than a whole, which means this is not more than 2 litres yet. So this is going to have the most water. Both of these bottles have 1 litre each. And one has 3/10 of a litre, one has 2/5 of a litre. If we think about this carefully before I scroll down, we might notice something about fifths and tenths. You might want to, at this point, it might be on the tip of your brain, you might want to get a piece of paper and just draw out fifths and tenths. What do you notice about fifths and tenths? We know both are in the 5 times table. And actually, oh, that's right there. There we go. We can know that every 10 has 2 5s in it. So actually, here's my fifths and here's my tenths. But hang on, I just said every 10 has 2 5s in it. So what's going on? Because here, every 5 has 2/10 in it. But if I were counting in my tables, I would go 5, 10, 15, 20. So why does 1/5 have 2/10? The answer is that fractions is a little bit like division. We've split one whole into 5 pieces. If I split one whole into 10 pieces, it's twice as many pieces. So I'm going the opposite way. Remember I said this last lesson, things are getting smaller as the number gets bigger. So although we know that there are 2 5s in 10, the relationship then is about doubling, which in terms of fractions is halving. That's a little bit confusing, and that's where often we get muddled up, and that's why pictures make this so much easier. Because what you've got to remember, whether you're drawing a picture or making a picture in your mind, is that if I've cut something into fifths, and then I want to cut it into tenths, I'm making it into twice as many parts. And when we talk about fractions, twice as many means smaller, not larger. It's confusing because if I went up to one of you and said, I want to give you twice as many sweets as you've got in your hand, you'd think you were getting more sweets. But if I said I was going to cut this cake into twice as many pieces, I'm cutting it into more pieces, which means you'd get less of the whole. That's the most important bit that we have to understand about fractions. The larger the denominator, the smaller the parts. So I know that 2/5, and I've annoyingly coloured in just one of them, so I need to show that point. But if I coloured in that one, look at that beautiful colouring, 2/5, and I've got here 3/10. We can see which is bigger. We know that 2/5 is the same as 4/10. Because if I were to cut my fifths into tenths, there would be 4, and here are 3. So that was not what I meant to do. 2/5 is the next biggest, and 1 3/10 is by far the smallest. Let's have a look at another one. So this time, let's go to view full screen. I'd like you to pause the video and try and arrange these fractions. 3 1/7, 2 2/3, 2 7/9. Pause the video and see if you can arrange them from greatest to smallest. Okay, let's get rid of that arrow. So, what do we know already? We know one of our fractions has 3 holes. One of them has 2 holes. One of them has 2 holes. That means my 3 holes is going to have to be greatest. I just realized my arrow is the wrong way around. No, it wasn't. Ignore me. It was the right way around. There's my greatest. So which is going to be my smallest? Is 2/3 greater than 7/9? Well, 2/3 is almost a whole, but 7/9 is also almost a whole. What do I know about thirds and ninths? I know that 9's in the 3 times table. How does that help me? I know that 3 times 3 is 9. So if I times this 3 by 9, sorry, ignore me. If I times this 3 by 3, I'd get 9. But how does that help me? So if I'm timesing this 3, I'm cutting this third into 3 parts. I'm making each of my thirds into 3 parts. So my 2/3 become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ninths. I've taken this 3 and I've cut it into 3 parts. Each of those thirds I've cut into 3 parts. My third becomes ninths. And that means my 2/3 are also multiplied by 3, because that 1/3 now has 3 parts. So my 2/3 is 3 times as big as it was before. And 2 times 3 is 6. So 2/3 is the same as 6 ninths. Well, I know that 6 ninths is smaller than 7 ninths. So my 2 and 6 ninths, or 2 and 2/3, is the smallest, and my 2 and 7 ninths is the biggest. Okay, I'm not going to ask that question actually. Oh, done it down there. So, which is greater, 3 1/12 or 3 1/3? We're just looking at this one. Don't get distracted. 3 1/12 or 3 1/3? Hopefully you got that quite quickly. They both got 3 holes, so we can sort of ignore those 3 holes. So what's greater, 1/12 or 1/3? Well, this is easy because 1/12 and 1/3 are unit fractions. Remember, unit fractions, that's year 3 language, I think. Unit fractions mean there is 1 unit in the numerator. And they're really simple to check size with because there's only 1 of them. If I've got 1/12 of a pizza cut into 12 parts, is that going to be bigger or smaller than 1/3 of a pizza? The pizza cut into third parts. So picture a pizza, a chocolate bar, a loaf of bread, a cucumber, whatever it is that you fancy eating right now. And then imagine cutting it into 3 parts. How big will that portion be, that part be? Now imagine cutting it into 12 parts. Which of those is going to be greater? Right, we know that the more we have in the denominator, the greater the number in the denominator, the smaller the part. So 3 1/3 is greater than 3 1/12. Which is smaller here, 7/4 or 1 7/12? hopefully you've noticed that 7/4 is an improper fraction. What would it be as a mixed fraction? If I have 7/4, how would I write that as a mixed fraction? Brilliant. I'd write it as 1 and 1. Oh, not 1. Let's see. 1 and 3/4. Quickly steal. No. There we go. 1 and 3/4. Oh, look, I'd already done it there for myself and I just forgot. Right. So then I'm looking at 3/4 versus 7/12 because I can ignore the 1 because there's a 1 there. So here's my quarters and my 12ths. Well, I know something about 4 and 12. I know that 4 times 3 is 12. Each of my quarters cut into 3 parts means I would then get 12 parts. Well, I've got here 3/4. 1, 2, 3. Let me just get my pen out again. Ignore my pretty coloring. 1, 2, 3. Let's go back to full screen. Oh, right. Okay. And here I've got 7/12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that was 3/4. Woo, that's a really sloppy color in there. 3/4 is the same as 3, 6, 9, 12ths. I counted in threes because I knew that each of those quarters was the same as 3/12. So 1/4 is the same as 3/12. 2/4 is the same as 6/12, and 3/4 is the same as 9/12. So 3/4 is 9/12. Well, over here I only had 7/12. So I know that 1 and 7/12 is smaller. I'm just going to get rid of my pen before I cause some damage with that. Arrange these numbers from the smallest to the greatest. 3 and 8/9, 5 and 1/9, 3 and 2/3. Brilliant. Hopefully we've seen that, and I annoyingly didn't copy those numbers out. Hopefully we've seen that our largest number by far, get a regular pen. Oh, no, it's not letting me go. It's not letting me do anything. Our largest number by far is 5 and 1/9. We know that. So what we're working out is 3 and 8/9 smaller than 3 and 2/3? Well, I know that 9ths, I know it because I've got it down here and my board's frozen. Fantastic. Ignore that. We're just going to have to plow and carry on. We're almost there. We know that 9ths, oh dear, 9ths are, here we go. Oh, we've got it back. No, we haven't. 9ths are smaller than thirds. Something cut into 9ths means each piece is smaller than something cut into thirds. I've got here thirds, I've got here 9ths. Well, I had 2/3 and I had 8/9. Well, thinking back to what I did before, each third was what? Ooh, that was crazy. Each third was worth 3/9. So 2/3 is worth 3/9, 6/9. So 2/3 is 6/9. 3 and 8/9, therefore, is bigger. So I know it's going to go 5 and 1/9, 3 and 8/9, and my smallest is going to be 3 and 2/3. Okay. Do you know what? I think we're going to skip this question. I think most of you probably are starting to get the hang of this. I'll leave it here. So if you want to give this one a go, you can pause and give it a try. What I'm going to ask you to do now, though, is go to your worksheet. So again, the links to the worksheet are on the PDF in today's class story. There's 2 pages. Once you finish those questions, can you come back to the video to mark your answers? Just a quick heads up about tomorrow's lesson. Tomorrow's lesson is slightly different. You've got 2 things to do tomorrow. There's no video. You've got an online quiz, which hopefully is going to work brilliantly, unlike last week. You've got an online quiz. You've also then got some challenge questions to do. I would like you, on the online quiz, I can see the answers automatically as long as you put your name down. But I would like you to post your questions. You don't have to post all of them, but post your questions just so I can get an idea of how everyone's doing. I don't want to carry on to the next part of fractions if lots of people are still struggling. So please, can you make sure you post some honest work? No point in getting your parents to do it and then posting that, because that just tells me how well your parents understand fractions. I want to know how well you understand fractions. So tomorrow there's a quiz and there's some questions to complete and then post. Back to today, you've got 2 sheets. Once you've finished the sheets, come back and mark your answers using this video. If you haven't already, pause this video, go and do your work. Brilliant. Okay, so the first sheet, let's go to a big screen so we've got lots of room. There we go. There is worksheet 6, question 1A and B. Brilliant. That's it. You know what you're doing tomorrow, and then Friday it's calculations. Talk to you later, everyone. Take care.